the subject, but I'm not on the inside, you know? So when you were on the inside and you heard some of those things, what was new to you? Because you were even more probably advanced as a law enforcement guy, training. I'm hoping they'd give you dossiers, you read the jackets, but then you go into the field. What was one of the things that jumped out at you where you're like, holy shit, wow, this is a surprise to me once you were undercover?
I don't know if anything really jumped out at me. The preparation was, like I said, my preparation was dumbing it down. I couldn't come in. And the one guy in particular that you're talking about, he actually called me out one time, I guess about a year in. And he goes, let me ask you something. You walk like us, you talk like us, you know, you have the same accent. If you're right around the same age as me, right? You're about the same age and da-da-da. Yeah. So where have you been? Where do you come from? You know, and you better be able to speak to that. You know, that's not just something you just whip up and pull out of your ass. You know, some of it is prepared, but it's like preparing a speech, you know, and you didn't write the speech and now you just get up and read it. And when you do, somebody, you know, people know you didn't write the speech. You know, you can't just pull stuff out of your ass, and you better make sure you're on point. Everything matches up. And I did. I had stories for who I was. Like, where have you been? Where? What do you mean where I've been? I've been a biker my whole life. And I talked about my outlaw biker life, which I was in my early 20s as an undercover. I had the whole look. You know, I had the tattoos and I pulled up my sleeves and I talked. So I had it, you know. I was able to talk about it. And with my background, so many different like criminal enterprises, you know, Eurasian, Asian, you name it. I was part and partial to infiltrating at some point, you know, even much so as the Black Panthers, as the guys sit in front of you, you know, doing business, because everybody likes a gangster from New York and New Jersey. They all buy into it. So, but there was no aha moment. I think, some of the guys that got made nowadays, they do it not on the old street cred of having to clip a guy. That's long gone. It's all scuttle, right? It's all money, right? You know, if I buy my button, I could buy my button. With me, you know, I would have had a button if I would have done this deed. And I even challenged a bunch of times, and guys say, it's bullshit. You know, listen, there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of tapes to back up everything I wrote. You know, the Bureau signed off on the book that I wrote. You know, so it's all fact. Would I have loved to get my button? Yeah, I would have loved it, right? You know, I feared it, but I also, but what you're talking about, and Riggy did what he did. He made a guy during a tumultuous time in the family, and nobody wanted to acknowledge the guy as such, and that became a big problem. Correct. And you know, those old school values. But long before this case, and I learned, doing my homework on the decavs, they had a bunch of guys made like in the 80s, and they almost had them all pulled back because they claimed that the ceremony was not done the right way.
Yeah, they touched on that in The Sopranos.
Yeah, and that really happened. You know, that truly did happen, and they almost had a bunch of guys get shelved and then have to go through the whole process of going and get made again. You know,